Hey yo, it's your girl Lady Pelvic with Pelvic Gaming, and today we are talking about Lady Gaga's makeup line, House Laboratories. Not really. I'm actually wrapping up my Mana series with Seiken Densetsu 3, or Trials of Mana. Originally released on the Super Famicom September 30th in 1995, only in Japan. I played it on the Mana Collection on the Switch, which came out June 11th, 2019. I'm happy to say this is much better than Secret of Mana, but still dated. Long ago, there was a great evil, and benevolence. I feel like I have to say it with some sort of accent, whatever. Okay, or god beasts roamed. The goddess of mana took up the sword of mana and sealed the 8 benevolence in the mana stones. Tired after rebuilding the world, she lays the sword to rest and turns into the mana tree. Fast forward to many years later, evil forces seek to unchain the benevolence. After that tidbit of lore, you now choose 3 characters. The first character is the story you'll follow the closest. The other 2 will join you, adding their perspective on the story. There are 3 main stories that intermingle between pairings of the 6 characters: Duran and Angela, Kevin and Charlotte, and Hawkeye and Reese. Of course, you don't have to play it that way. Duran loses to the Crimson Knight and goes on a mission to change his class. Angela, the daughter of a mage queen, flees her home after realizing she's meant to be sacrificed. Kevin, the half-beast, half-human, angrily leaves his homeland after his father killed his wolf friend, Carl. I don't know who names a wolf Carl, but here we are. Charlotte, a young girl who follows Heath, a big brother figure, after having a bad feeling. Hawkeye, a thief with a heart of gold, framed for killing his best friend and the Thief Guildmaster's son, and is forced to flee home. And lastly, Reese, her brother taken and her kingdom usurped. For the sake of this review, I'll mainly be focusing on Kevin, as he was my first and Angela was my second time. Each character starts at a different location and ultimately finds reason to seek counsel from the Priest of Light. On the way to the holy city of Wendell, your character finds a fairy who joins you. When you reach the priest, it is revealed that the Tree of Mana is dying, and if it dies, the benevolence will break free. If the Sword of Mana is drawn, peace can be maintained, and the protagonist can have their wish granted by the goddess. The tree is hidden in the Sanctuary of Mana, and the only way to open the portal is the combined powers of the elementals, each guarding a mana stone. Of course, you'd be silly to think you wouldn't be seeing the benevolence during the second half of this game. I actually really enjoyed how the stories were told. In fact, that's probably my favorite thing about Trials, the story and the world building. Each land you visit has interesting customs, tradition, and defenses. The Amazons use winds to blow sleeping spores away from their kingdom and stop invaders. Elves cannot marry humans for reasons, and tomato people hanging out on an island with an active volcano accepting death. It was fun and immersive. While traveling, you'll encounter other characters not in your party that will cue you in on their side of things. I think Trial of Mana does a great job with its storytelling. It absolutely encourages you to play again, but from a different angle. It's interesting to see things play out slightly different. From different character matchups to the amount of altered dialogue and cutscenes, even different final dungeons and final bosses, Trials of Mana successfully tackled these incredibly ambitious features. Trials of Mana's gameplay is leaps and bounds better than Secrets, and thank goodness, because that was one of my concerns. But considering this game's age, it did alright, it did fine. Not flawless, but definitely a huge improvement. Combat is as simple as button mashing. The more hits you land, the more the gauge at the bottom will fill up, allowing for a super move. When leveling up, you can allocate 1 point to a stat. I'd researched this because this is the first time Trials of Mana is officially released in the West, and there's no guidebook to tell you what stat does what. Eventually, you'll realize certain stats cap. That's when you know you're approaching changing classes. You can change your class at level 18 and level 38, but there are no takebacks. One path is light, and the other is known as dark. Don't worry, as it doesn't change your character's personality, it's just their playstyle. Some classes specialize in multi-target, others single-target, but are potent. Some buff, others debuff, etc, etc. It's important to research the classes beforehand, because depending on what you choose for your first class, it will limit your options for the second class. Example is if you choose light for class 2, you can now only choose light plus dark or light plus light. The dark plus dark class is no longer available. Also, note for your third class, you'll need a special item gained by question mark seeds, which you'll have to grind for. Plant them at an inn and hope that you get the item needed. Good thing is, you'll only get items your party members can use. You'll probably find yourself using a guide, and remember, a lot of the guides are from the fan-translated version. The Nintendo official release uses slightly different names. As you evolve your class, you'll notice the gauge at the bottom expands, allowing you to do stronger super moves, depending on how full. Like Secret of Mana, this is multiplayer. You can play with friends, and I'm happy to say that the AI has been improved. And because someone in my comments implied that I didn't cover Secret of Mana properly because I didn't play with friends and get the quote-unquote full experience, I did this time. And wow, what do you know? Real people make better companions than AI. Who would have guessed? As far as I'm concerned, I believe RPG should have a solid single-player experience, especially in this day and age. Trials of Mana, I get, was a different time, a time where most of us were kids and didn't have the responsibilities that we do now. Real talk, it's a lot more enjoyable with friends, mainly because we beat the ever-living crap out of these bosses. I mean, holy hell, dude, these bosses did not stand a chance. Now, the UI is much better. While they didn't completely ditch the ring system, it is cleaned up. You can switch from items to spells. And with items, if you're holding too many, now there is a storage system where you can access at any time outside of battle. Brilliant addition. Trials now has a proper-ish menu that lags, where you can organize your party's equipment and how they fight and see their stats. So now some pet peeves. This is a product of its time, but when casting spells, it stops the fight to let the spell or special move go off, like Secret of Mana. So when you're fighting enemies that are firing off spells left and right, it can feel less than action-packed. My second playthrough was Angela, Charlotte, and Duran. Very mage-heavy, and constantly opening the menus made boss battles a drag. A balanced party is key. I also felt me and my teammates were all over each other. Oftentimes, I got lost on screen, rapidly tapping the A button in the distance while my AI companions were doing all the work. I oddly miss in Secret of Mana the different weapons that allowed everyone to keep certain distances. Another thing is if your currently controlled character dies, you instantly switch characters, which causes temporary confusion. Fighting enemies is better, and during some late game boss fights, they tend to be on the cheaper side, doing 2 powerful moves back to back, leading to an inescapable death. Brought me back to the good old days of Secret of Mana's Stunlock. A few non-combat additions I thought were nice were the day and night cycle. Different businesses opened up and new people roam at night. Kevin turns into a werewolf, dealing a lot more damage. There are specific days of the elements. If you use an elemental on their day, their magic is stronger. Mana Day lets you stay at an inn for free. It's a simple but treasured add-on. The gameplay of Trials of Mana is not the only thing that improved. The graphics are also touched up. There are more pixels! It's 16-bit and very detailed, shading in the hair, the skin, the characters are just as expressive as they were in Secret of Mana. It's odd though, some part of me missed the simplistic look of Secret of Mana. You know, sometimes less is more. The one animation that stood out to me the most is how Kevin walks. He looks like he went to work and saw someone took his lunch from the refrigerator and now he's about to be starting something. I couldn't imagine having that being my standard way of moving. Trials of Mana is a beautiful game. Flying or swimming around was fun, and the small callbacks, the secret, like the spring step or the cannons. The Bénévodons were easily the most impressive visual bit of this game. I fell so in love with these god beasts. Dungeon layouts were alright. A lot of dead ends trapping you, there's very little chest laying about. I think I've only seen one. Sometimes though, I couldn't tell a pathway was a pathway, or having to associate with objects that didn't lend to hinting that they were interactive, leading me to get stuck. There's not a huge reason to go off and explore, which is sad because the world building was so great. And finally, the music of Trials of Mana. Hiroki Kikuta is back at it again, baby, and he is gracing us with another fresh musical score. It's great, it's very reminiscent of Secret of Mana, and it's just, when you hear it, you think Mana. While I do prefer Secret of Mana soundtrack overall, Trials is by no means bad or unmemorable. I do think the boss themes or the tribal sounding tracks garner the most attention from me. And I do think some of the somber songs do a great job in setting tone. Some bosses you don't want to fight, and a sad song plays, and it just really made my heart hurt. But you know, gotta do what you gotta do. Also, if you're playing on the Mana Collection, at the title screen you can listen to all the music at the start. Now, since I said boss themes and tribal songs are where my heart's at, I'm gonna give you both. This is a boss theme that had a bit of jungle twang. It's called Strange Medicine. Trials of Mana, a 7.5, 8 out of 10-ish. I really do struggle with the score. I'm not in love with it. I don't hate it. It's just really what it is, it's dated. Playing in 2019, I like my action games action-packed. And this was just a little laggy and a bit of a slog sometimes. On one hand, I love the stories. I played through Kevin and Angela's route fully, and I'm currently going through Hawkeye's, and so far actually Hawkeye is my favorite. I'm playing with a friend. And the world, lore, and building is absolutely something you can just treasure and get lost in. Each character brought something different, and if you were missing something in your original party like a healer or a spellcaster, you can make up for it in later classes. But on the other hand, the gameplay, it was just kinda laggy. And God forbid you had a magic heavy party, you were constantly in the menus trying to cast spells and you just kinda sat and watched half the time. I felt like I was mingling in the menus more than actual combat. Ultimately, not a bad game. Definitely improves upon Secret of Mana, it's just aged a bit. And frankly, Legend of Mana is still where it's at. That said, I am excited for the Trials of Mana remake. It's not going to be a day one buy for me, but I do hope to get to it in late 2020. Don't know if you've been keeping up with the trailers, but not gonna lie, I am stupid excited that you can jump and finally dodge magic. You don't have to sit and take it. I am over the moon about that. And 2, the music is fire. I don't know if you guys saw Hawkeye's little trailer, but you heard the Navarro music, the desert music. Oh my god, it sounds so good. I am super excited to hear the remakes of all the songs, all of them. In conclusion, I am thrilled to hear that this game is being brought to the modern era. I am thrilled to hear the music, and I am thrilled to try a new team. I do hope they add a new game plus to maybe go through the story a little faster. Admittedly, I love the stories, not so much the gameplay. You know, playing this game back to back to back, even with new parties, is a bit of a chore. So I'll take any assistance. The things you do as a YouTuber to make sure you have good coverage over a game, am I right? That said, let me know your thoughts, your favorite character, and your favorite party. I am a Hawkeye girl to no one's surprise, and I definitely like Angela as well. As for my favorite party that I've used, Kevin, Hawkeye, and Reese. Thank you so much for watching. Top box for more reviews like this, and the bottom box is my Let's Play channel. One day I'll finish Danganronpa. One day. Anyways, appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. You can just keep recording. Thank God, okay. I was like, I hear you cracking. And I'm like, what is happening to her body? Okay. Alright, we'll do it again. Ready? Okay.